College Football Update with your host, Sean Spencer and Alex Loosemore.
Let's go ahead and get into it now. We are starting with our college football storylines and the blockbuster story that came out actually on Sunday during the NFL games. Mel Tucker suspended indefinitely and possibly fired from MSU over the sexual misconduct allegations. Alex, what are your thoughts? I'm going to bring Kat in here in a little bit. But what are your thoughts? I mean, just off of hearing this.
I mean, for me, it's really wait and see. Because, I mean, you hear the immediate story that comes out and it disgusts you.
Yeah.
But then you hear his response in how they had been in kind of essentially a relationship for a couple of years, and then it kind of hit a rough spot, and now she's coming out about all this stuff, and it's just like, who do I believe? Who do I not believe? There's so much just kind of tossed at you in the last 48 hours that it's just like, whoa, okay, like what's going on here? What's really going on?
Oh yeah, and have them hit right in the middle of the NFL Sunday, and it was such a blockbuster announcement. It just made you wonder, like, wow, where did this come from? You know what I mean? Was there any hint of this? Was there any kind of, anything that might have led people to believe, wow, okay, this is something that's going on? Like, I don't believe this is in his history.
Not to my knowledge, but it seems like the school's been kind of looking into this for a few months now. Like, it seems like it's something that the Spartans have been investigating for a while. And now that the news just kind of got made public, now everything's happening. But yeah, there's still so much up in the air. Like we saw the whole Pat Fitzgerald situation at Northwestern, where it was you kind of got a little bit of info, and then it was just bam, it was everything. So I'm waiting for that like hammer to drop and everything comes out, and then we're like, okay, wow, this is the real situation. So I think we're kind of waiting for that point right now, to be honest.
Yeah, that's and that's just got to be rough. That's got to be rough. I mean, obviously, their team is actually looking good, but for this situation to come out, and I'm not gonna lie, the first thought that I had was, he has that 11-2 year off the back of Kenneth Walker, and then all of a sudden you getting this huge payday, and then you ain't really succeeding. You're not fulfilling your part of the deal, at least not up to standard. And then it's kind of like, are they trying to recoup? Are they trying to be like, oh, let's put this stuff out there? Because the way that he responded is kind of off. Kat, you want to come talk about it? Yes. Here we go.
First off, I heard what Sean said. I'm going to be real. Like, I've only read a little bit about it because, like, work. That comes first.
Yeah.
But I will say this as a Spartan. It's like, when I first heard about it, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, is this real? Like, meaning, is this, like, really something that happened? Much less, like, I didn't want to, like, for me, I don't like to just jump to, like, this person's guilty. I wanted to, like, know the facts. Like, I wanted to hear both sides. But to me, like, right now, it's like a he said, she said type thing. And I'm not saying this because I'm a Spartan. But if you look at both sides and both statements, and I guess to me, I want to wait before I, like, pass judgment, which I know we're all guilty of, like, especially, like, as a Spartan or, like, University of Michigan, like, oh my gosh, Harbaugh. But, like, that's why I even told Sean, I don't usually do that because I don't want someone doing that to me. That I want to know the facts, because right now it says, like, Mel Tucker is saying, like, it was consensuous. They've been friends. It became romantic. She'd send pictures. And, like, for me, it's like, I'm all about, like, Me Too and making sure these things don't happen. But I also am aware of, because of Me Too, now you have people that will be predators. So, I mean, we
Yeah.
really don't know which one is the predator here. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's either one, but I think part of the hype, I don't want to say hype, but part of why it was such a big story and that it was produced, like it was, everyone's finding out this in the NBA, like I'm not NBA, but NFL, is because of Nasser, because of our history of sexual
Yeah.
harassment with what happened with, you know, the women's gymnastics. Although, like as I've said to Sean, yes, he was housed at our university, but he was not just working with the university. He was part of the Olympic team. You know, he was the Olympic team doctor. But I really think that that's part of the issue with it, is it ties to things that have happened in the past. And our school, they don't want to have any type of connection with that, especially after what's happened with the gymnastics. So I think that that's why they're so quick to be like, all right, you know, we're late, like you're going to be let go. They are going to give him a trial, but like for me, I just want it to be a fair trial either way. Like Sean already knows, D'Antonio fan. I'm not against Mel Tucker, but I told him, I really wonder if this is more of a also too, hey, this is one way we can get rid of you. You cost too much, and you really haven't done it as much as what we expected. Like I know Sean and I had that conversation, but that's really that was the first thing that went to my mind is, oh, they want to get rid of him. He costs too much. The second thing
and this is the way they don't have to pay him anything.
Exactly. And then the second thing was mainly he said, she said, like, I don't want to like sit there and place blame, you know?
Yeah.
But you know what? I appreciate it. I didn't hear what you said, but I'm hoping you said something like that, or were there some fighting words? What's your thoughts?
No. I just said that right now, I mean, obviously, the first stuff that came out, it was like, oh my God, that's horrible what he did. But then it was like, then he came out and said his piece. And then it's like, okay, now that we've got the differing things, let's wait and see what actually happened. Because like you said, he said everything was consensual and that it built up to that. And then that they stayed on the phone after that happened and she didn't have any issues with it then. And that was months ago. And she was texting him months after that happened, which was still like June, July. So, I mean, there's so much there to unpack. And I said, just like the Pat Fitzgerald situation, we just got to wait for everything to be laid out on the table before we make a judgment.
And, you know, like for me, I'm really interested in seeing the texts that are going back and forth. Because like I said to Sean, and I'm just sharing this, like if I'm interested in somebody, and I'm not someone that does this, but I'm just saying a lot of women, if they're interested in a man, they'll send those kind of pictures. And like, to me, if you're sending pictures like that, that's confusing to a man. Like that's like, to me, and I'm not saying that it's okay for him to then act upon what he did, but at the same time, to me, it's like, okay, but it was over the phone. Like maybe I guess you know what I mean? Like, although I know that's very demeaning, especially if that's not something you want. I mean, any of the women out there, like, I'm not saying it is okay at all, but we really don't know what happened. We were like, we weren't in the room where it happened. That's the key thing.
Yeah.
We weren't in the room.
Well,
all right. I'll see you though. Oh wait, I want to hear what you said.
Okay. I was just going to say, the reason I'm mainly interested to see it all out on the table is because if you look in Tucker's press release, not only does he say that she says stuff about him, but it's stuff about the assistants, and she throws Harbaugh in there as well. So that's why I'm just like, I wonder what she's referencing about everyone else when she's possibly trying to throw Tucker under the bus or actually saying Tucker did this. There's a lot to unpack here. And
definitely.
I'm wondering when it'll actually all get out.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I'm curious about the same thing. And I appreciated being able to at least read his statement. Only because for me, I like to be able to hear both sides. However, like, you know, if they find him guilty, you know, that's not okay. And you know what? We don't need another situation like that at Michigan State. You know, that shouldn't be happening anywhere. And if it is the situation, then maybe other schools will follow by what our lead. And this, you know, I mean, like I said, we really don't know, but it's just, I don't want that tied again. That kind of like
Yeah.
to my
Damn,
team.
go get it.
All right. Anyway, sorry, I'm talking. Sean's like, Cat. I'm like, well, it's the Spartan. I can go on and on. Go green. I know you're going to say go white. Let's do it.
No, go blue. Go blue.
I didn't hear that, so go green. Bye.
See ya.
Sorry.
Oh man, yeah, buddy. That is my fiance, Cat Hughes, Michigan State insider, talking about it, and we will see what happens. We'll definitely bring you back that information. But look, let's stay right in the Big Ten. Somebody that is very closely connected to you guys and Michigan State, Ohio State, still in the QB competition. I know McCord was finally named the starter, but everything that they're doing doesn't really give off that we're comfortable with this. It's just a decision we're making. What do you think?
To me, that situation that they just did was very similar to Michigan last year, where you had McNamara and McCarthy both playing lots of each of the first two games, and then they came to that conclusion after. So this was McCord and Brown both played close to a half each in both games, and then they came to the conclusion that McCord was the guy they wanted to run the show. And I figured he'd be the guy. To me, he was the better of the two. But it was nice to see them finally name somebody, because there's that old saying, if you got two quarterbacks, you got none. So
zero, right?
Hopefully they can finally get this rhythm going, because that offense has been pretty slow still. So hopefully this allows them to kind of get some rhythm, some flow, and some consistency.
Yeah, and I mean, to their credit, Marvin Harrison Jr. got the ball early and often. I think he had his first 4 catches, he had like a couple touchdowns, over 100 yards. Straight balled out. So I mean, that's the key. Whoever's going to be behind center, you need to get the ball into his hands, and it looks like they did that. But we're going to see how they go when they actually face stiffer competition, and see how that does. All right, man. Let's go into the updated top 25. Week 2 is here. Let's see what we got. Starting at the top, you see Georgia, Michigan 1 and 2. That stays the same. Florida State gets up to 3, with Texas at 4 and USC at 5. Ohio State's out of the top 5. What do you think about that? That top 5, top 10, Bama down to 10? What do you think, man?
I personally thought Bama should have dropped a little bit lower. There's a couple teams sitting right below them that I like over them that are undefeated. Alabama has that loss. Like, to me, Tennessee, Utah, Oregon are all they all realistically should be above Alabama. I understand why you put them at 10, but not my cup of tea, particularly with the way they've played the first 2 weeks here. As for the top 5, that 4 is perfect right now. Those, to me, are the 4 best teams in the nation right now, and they've shown it. SC, I like them less than the 2 below them right now, particularly because they still don't have a defense. To me, I'd go Penn State 5, leave the Buckeyes at 6, and move the Trojans down to 7, maybe even 8. I might like Washington over them. I might like Notre Dame over them. So SC is kind of in that. I mean, 5's okay for them, but they could be as low as 9 as well. Yeah. So that 5 through 9 is all kind of crammed together, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Now and so I agree. I think Washington should be higher. In my opinion, it goes Washington 5, Penn State 6, and then you have USC, and then you have Ohio State. Because it goes back to what you said before. Ohio State, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. And I don't think anybody's really separated themselves, even though they picked the starter. We know Aller. He's there at Penn State. We've seen what he's doing. They got that 2-headed monster in the backfield. Washington is really, I mean, they've been smoking teams. I want to see them against Pac-12 and then, stiffer opponents. But at the same time, man, the way that they've been doing it, it's like they've been leaving no doubt. And I really feel like they need to be up in that, top 5 or 6 best teams in the land. But, yeah, for the most part, I see where we're at. Let me ask you this. Notre Dame at 9. So I love what they've done. They've gotten multiple victories. Hartman looks good. Estime looks good. But then when I look at these other teams, Washington, Penn State, Texas, Florida State, I feel less confident about Notre Dame. Like, what do you think?
Well, to me, Notre Dame at 9 isn't necessarily a bad thing because if you look at those teams above them, they're going to have to play 2 of those teams. They're going to have to play USC and they're going to have to play Ohio State. So if they want to be a team fighting for that playoff spot, they got to beat those 2 teams anyways.
Yep.
So having all those teams kind of crammed together isn't a bad thing. I do think they're a step above Alabama, Tennessee, Utah, Oregon, those kind of teams there. I think they're a step above them. And kind of in with that other kind of 5 through 9, like I was saying before. I think there is a step down from 4 to 5, though.
Yeah.
I think those 4 right now have kind of separated themselves. You can make an argument for Washington, make an argument for Penn State being up with those other 4. But right now I feel like it's those 4, and then another group of 5, and then another group of 5 or 6. And then, like, I think it kind of starts to kind of separate.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame being at 9, clumped in with the teams they're going to have to go through, I don't hate it.
Yeah. So it puts everything in front of them. You know what I mean? So you see what the road that you have to go through to get that kind of recognition. And hey, it's all in front of them. I love that. And with Hartman there, I like that. I like their potential and their opportunity.
Yeah.
All right, we got Tennessee at 11, Utah at 12 without Cam Rising. That's going to be interesting. Oregon, who got out of a squeaker against Texas Tech in a very good game.
Alex showed us.
Yeah, right. He did. They had a lot of grit. They had a lot of grit in that game, and they showed me something on a very sneaky Texas Tech team because, like Alex said, Texas Tech in the Big 12 are sneaky. They're sneaky good, man.
Yep. I was like, there's no way. Like, they'll smoke them, and then I was at the CFL game in Edmonton here, and I'm, like, just peeking at the scores as we're going, and I was like, oh, damn, like, this is, like, a legit game. Like,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. I actually watched that game back yesterday, and I was like, dang, this was really good. Back and forth. Texas Tech was leading. Then Oregon. I mean, it was a solid game, man. So shout out to them. Then you got 14 LSU, Kansas State, Oregon State, Ole Miss, Colorado moves up to 18.
I don't like that one.
That's what I'm saying. So, and I'm glad you said something. Where is your head right now? Because I love all the things they're doing. I love the excitement. But where in the world are we getting it? They're jumping up to 22nd. Now they're at 18. I'm like, really?
Yeah. And I mean, you look at those 3 teams below them. I think Oklahoma smokes them. I think North Carolina smokes them. And I think Duke beats them as well.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Colorado they don't have a defense. They have a very good offense, but a bad offensive line. With North Carolina, the pass rush we've seen the first couple weeks, North Carolina would eat them alive. I'm going to say that right now. Oklahoma can go toe-to-toe with them, and then it's really whichever defense shows up first. I like Venables in that defense a little bit more. And then Duke, the way they've played, Duke beats them. I think Miami beats them. Yeah. Washington State is a maybe. UCLA is a maybe, and Iowa's a maybe. But the way Iowa's defense is playing right now, I think Iowa could possibly take them too.
Exactly, because Nebraska's offense was shutting them down in that first half. Nebraska's defense was shutting Colorado's offense down. And Iowa, they're known for defense. We've seen what they did this last week against Iowa State. So I totally agree. Any one of these teams under them, I believe, kind of has the advantage. But at the same time, hey, everybody's doubted him. We said we didn't think he could do X, Y, and Z, and he's done it. Hey, let's see. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's worth it.
I think right now they deserve to be in the 21 to 25 range because beating TCU, that should jump them up pretty high. Yeah. And then holding on against Nebraska, who's not a top 25 team, but that's still a pretty good football team. Yeah. I think they should be, I would say, like 22 to 25, kind of in there.
Yeah.
But I think really what this is setting up for is to have 2 highly ranked teams, not this Saturday, but next Saturday when Colorado plays Oregon.
Oh, very true. Very true. I can see that happen. You should...
game day was already chosen for that week.
Ooh.
They chose Baylor, who's winless, against Texas over Colorado, Oregon, and I believe the other one is Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Wow. Oh,
I think
come
that's
on,
the other massive game that week that they chose over it. But yeah, I was
Wow.
like, that is not a smart choice in my opinion. I mean,
why would you do
the
that?
box office wise, you get Dion and what Colorado's doing against Oregon. I understand that part, but there's just certain games that need to be in that place.
Exactly.
And I mean, yeah. What do we got? We got UCLA, Utah that week as well. Oregon State,
Mhm.
Washington State, Florida State, Clemson,
Yeah.
Ole Miss, Alabama, Colorado, Oregon. Yeah, there's just so many. Arkansas, LSU.
Jeez. Yeah, it wasn't the best move on their part.
Ohio State, Notre Dame, Iowa, Penn State, UCF, Kansas,
What? Oh.
North Carolina, Pitt.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Like, those are all games that should realistically be that over Colorado, Oregon. Is that going to be a fun, entertaining game? Yes.
No.
But realistically, it should be Notre Dame, Ohio State. That is the marquee game that weekend. And that's
going to bring more eyes.
I guess they're going to
more
get
attention.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say they'll get the big noon kickoff, but they're a night game, so they won't get that. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't understand the move there personally.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. And then so to round out the list, you said 20, North Carolina at 20, Duke at 21, Miami at 22, Washington State at 23, UCLA at 24, and Iowa at 25. Alex, I've seen some, if not a lot, of all of these 25 teams. And honestly, I like this list. I think I could say this is the best 25 teams that I've seen. On the coaches poll that you see on the right, you see Colorado's at 21, and you see Clemson is at 22. They are not on the AP poll in the top 25.
Nor should they be.
I just don't trust what I've seen from them. You know.
At halftime against Charleston Southern, that game was in question. That should not happen if Clemson's a top 25 team. That game should be over by halftime.
Yeah. Man, I don't even trust them in the ACC right now. So,
yeah,
we will have to see. But, yeah, we are going to move on. That was definitely talking about our top 25 in these storylines.